Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do something for the April craft challenge. This is a free printable page. I will put a link below for a blog post for the craft challenge explaining what it is, how you can enter it, and to get this free printable. So the craft challenge is basically a set theme every month. There is a color palette and there is a theme word, which is this month is flower power, and I'm going to be making an ATC card. ATC cards are about this size. It's about the size of a playing card, but you don't need to stick with this for ATCs. An ATC just means artist trading card, so you can paint it, you can paper craft it, you can do whatever you want. And the monthly craft challenge is an all craft challenge, so you don't even need to do paper crafts. You could do a journal page, you could do a card, you could paint something, you could even knit or bake something. You just have to stick with the palette, color theme, and the prompt word. So the color scheme this month is blues, reds, yellows, purples, spring kind of colors. So I'm just cutting myself out a little card sized piece of paper here. I used my sticker as a template to get my ATC size, and it's flimsy as you can see, but we're going to double it up and make it a little more rigid, make it a little more card thickness. Now this could also be used instead of an ATC. It would be used as a note card, what do you call them? A journal card, that's the one. A journal card for slipping inside a journal pocket. This is how I make my journal cards, in the same kind of way. So I guess this is a tutorial for a journaling card, even though it is technically an ATC just because of the size of it. So I'm going to adhere two pieces of paper together back to back just to give them some strength, some thickness, make it a little more rigid. You could start by using card. You could use cereal box card, packaging card. It doesn't really matter. ATCs are just about the thickness of a playing card. You can use playing cards too. I've seen many people alter playing cards. I'm just going to trim this down. Get it to the same size. Now this color scheme is a little bit out of my comfort zone. It's a pretty color scheme, it's just not one I use very much. So this is actually the second thing I've made for this challenge. The first one had more of the reds in it, and it was a little bit of a challenge. I made a tag. If you want to see that, I will put links below to our Facebook group, which if you're not a member of, please come and join. We opened a Facebook group only just last week for all our paper loving community, but we also welcome if you do more than paper crafts. It's kind of an all-inclusive group, and I post in there a lot, so come and join us. The link is below. Okay, I'm trimmed up my paper. I'm also going to curve the edges just so it looks more card-like. Also hides a multitude of sins, like if it's not very straight, you don't really notice when you curve the edges. I should be curving the edges of everything I make in that case. And I just haven't trimmed it very well, so I'm just fixing it. Okay, dokie. So we've got our double-sided paper. It's a little bit damp, so it is a little bit more flimsy than it'll be when it's dry. And I'm going to go to the printout. Now my printer sucks, so don't please look at this and think it's not very good quality. It's a really good quality download. It's just my printer is really crappy. I need to get a new one. I've got the cheapest of the cheapest printers because I never used to print a lot of coloured stuff, but now that I do, I think I need to upgrade. I'm using one of the little flower borders from the pack. Now this free printable this month has been made by me for you guys to use, but from May onwards we're actually going to be getting supplied a printable page by L.T.Marshall Designs on Etsy. They make digital printables from their own artwork, and they turn it into gorgeous papercraft stuff. So they're going to be supplying us one free printable page every month starting in May. So you know, if you want to have a little vote on what themes you're looking for, leave comment down below and I will pass it on to her, because I guess that means she'll be in charge of the themes every month. Okay, so I'm going to stick on the flowery bottom and I'm going to start layering. I really like layers in things like this. I'm an ex-mixed media artist. I used to make canvases and art using all different mediums and collage, and I guess it's kind of stuck with me. So I'm going to rip up some bits of paper and start layering. Now with things like this, starting with thin paper and layering actually helps make your paper thicker and stronger, so you end up with an actual card rather than just flimsy paper with images. Okay, so I'm going to go to our little printout, and I really like this yellow flower. I'm feeling it. I feel like it goes so far with the colours that I'm putting together there. I'm going to use some of the floral paper. I'm just going to take off the things that I think I might use, even if I don't end up using them. Just the things that catch my eye and I'm like, oh, I like that, but I probably won't use them all. I really like the red and blue stamp here, but I don't think I end up using it, but I still like it anyway. Okay, and you know, free printables, even if you don't use them immediately, put them in your stash. You might use bits and pieces of them for other projects. Okay, so I'm going to cut myself a little square of this floral paper, and I'm going to add some of it. Just doing the tear method today. The good thing about being someone that likes sort of old looking stuff, vintagey stuff, is you can tear. You can just slap it together. It just always looks good. Okay, I'm just working out. Now the good thing about making these, it's all about playing with your stash. Don't glue anything down yet. Just cut things out, position things, move them around until you are happy with what you see coming together before you adhere a single thing. I find this part very relaxing. This is my favourite part of making things like these, is just picking out elements that I like, getting them all to the shape and size that I think would look nice, and then just moving them around, adding little bits and pieces. It's a process. So step one of my process is, it's step two, because step one is building your base, which would be your paper. Step two is arranging the elements that you think you might want to use. Okay, so I was looking at this here and I was like, I'm liking it, but I feel like even after I ink them, there's something missing. So I'm going to go ahead and ink first. Now I'm doing this one very lightly. At first I was thinking I didn't want to make it too grungy because I make everything grungy, and then maybe I should step out of my comfort zone a little bit more. So I was trying to use less ink than normal, but as you will see very soon, why that was just a pointless plan. I'm just going to ink the edges of everything. It just helps define those very tiny edges. It also takes away any whiteness from printed paper that's being cut. A little trick as well, I don't know if you noticed that my printable flower sheet is actually a little bit on the aged side already, like it's a little bit dull. I print my downloads on cream paper rather than white, because I like such a vintage grungy style. I find white copier paper, just printer paper, is a little bit too bright sometimes, so I do it on cream instead, and then it just makes everything look softer and a little bit older. So that's just a little tip for you. Print on cream paper. And if you're into the vintage old style, it looks a lot better than white. So I'm going to stick down my first layer of elements. Those elements that I'm pretty certain that's where I want them. I'm using my UHU glue. I think I might actually switch to trying different glues again after this project. I have a couple of bottles that just sit in front of me that I never use. I've got like a clear school glue, and I've also got a PVA glue. I think I'm going to mix and match some of my glues and try them out in future videos and see which I prefer. Right, I'm just going to make sure that little bit of rough paper is up a little bit, and then I'm going to put the flowers right to the bottom just so it sticks out more. That yellow paper is actually handmade paper that I tea stained, and then we stick that down to the base, and look, it leaves a little pop. Peek up. Now as I'm putting it here, this is where I'm thinking I feel like it's missing something, like there's something that's needed to make that space work a little bit better. So as I was trimming this, I was thinking mentally, what could I add? The printable doesn't have anything I want. It's going straight in with the stamps. I'm not ready for the stamps yet. I felt like it needed a focal element. Okay, so I'm just trimming down my paper. Every layer I do, I'll trim down my edges like this. and just keep on top of them. It also helps you as you're working through layering things. Seeing them all together and glued down at each step actually helps you when it comes to arranging the next layer. It just makes it visually tidier and more meant. Now see, this is when I started thinking I needed another focal point, and seeing that printout of that stamp made me remember I actually have a whole bunch of used proper stamps. I went onto eBay one day looking for sticker stamps and ended up finding a job lot of actual stamps, like somebody's collection they were selling off. And I realised that hundreds of sellers on eBay have these collections that they sell off. And I got, like, I'm not even joking, 250 stamps. I have all different themes for about £5. So this is my folder of florals, because I reckon, you know, flower power is the theme for the challenge. I decided I was going to use one of these, and I didn't want to tip them all out because there is a lot, so I was trying to be a little bit tidy in my selection. I was thinking of the theme colours. The theme palette has purple in it, and I haven't really used much purple in this. And now that I'm looking at that, I'm kind of wishing I also used that stamp, but I don't. I go in with other colours. I feel like something isn't quite right with this little piece, and it needs something to balance it a little bit. I'm liking that stamp, but still, I just feel like it needs a pop of colour in the central to sort of counterbalance the flower and to bring some of that red down from the top. And I think we have found the winning. Yeah, I like that. I like how that looks. So now that I've laid them out, I'm going to get my inks out again, and I'm going to be adhering this. Now, remember I said I only wanted a little bit of ink and not to make this so grungy? Well, look what arrived. My brand new tea dye distress ink. And I was thinking it looks like a lighter colour. Maybe we should try this out. This was literally the first time I've opened it. It's been sitting there waiting. And I was like, yeah, let's try this. This looks like this might be it's a much more light colour. It's a little more tonally close to the paper that I used. I'm thinking it's going to be subtle. Of course, that is me forgetting it's a brand new ink pad. So I'm getting out a new little spongy applicator for my dauber so that I'm not mixing colours. I've got a nice clean one here. I'm going to take that one off. And this is the moment of disaster. I actually think that this is abnormally juicy for an ink pad, to be honest. I've bought a lot of ink pads and none of them have been this juicy. Wait and you shall see. I tried to go on with a little bit and oh boy, that is one inky ink pad. It was, you can actually see how bad it was on camera. You kind of do in that corner. This was me trying to be light and it was so inky. I'm thinking it was extra juicy, and that not all the ink pads are like this, although it does look like I have literally spilled my tea on it. It looks like I've dipped my card in my cup of tea, and it was extreme. So I'm trying to be light and just use the residue on everything else that's left, tie in that more warm tone ink that I was using without redipping into that very inky mess. And I kind of like the colour, I do. It's more of a warm brown than the vintage photo, and I feel like I'll probably use it for some things. Am I swayed away from vintage photo? No, it is still my favourite brown. This one is a little bit on the reddy brown side for me. But you know, I did say I wanted to come out of my comfort zone and use something different. I did not expect to be washing my stuff with a new ink. So I've gone back to the vintage photo and I'm just doing my usual little tea stain splotches and putting it on front and back. This is going to be a journaling card, so we're giving the back as much love as the front. And yeah, I was trying to be light. I literally just touched the ink pad and look how much came off. I was like, you know what, embrace it. Make it a happy mistake. No one's going to know except me that this was not intentional. Well, and you guys, because you know you're watching it. But no one's going to know that I just had a really juicy ink pad that just wanted to cover everything in its inkiness. And we'll just say that's how it was meant to be. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't remember any of my other pads being like this. Is it just me? Is your tea dye pad that juicy? So I'm going in with red and I'm using some of my postage stamps. Now I'm doing this before I stick on my next layer of images because I like to build up layers. I like to add depth to my images. So they're kind of background stamps. And now I'm going to come in with my little focal points and I'm going to stick them on top. And I'm going to adhere them down with the UHU glue too. Look at that. How pretty is that? That is pretty, you have to admit. Maybe not so much on camera, but in the flesh, when there's no shine and you can see the proper colours, because, you know, cameras distort things a little bit. It is actually a very pretty card. So I'm sticking down my stamp. I tell you, go look on eBay for used postage stamps. Some of them are so freaking pretty. Although, I have to admit, one of the stamps that I received, I don't know what to do with. It is literally a stamp of Hitler. I own a stamp with Hitler's face on it and a German postcode stamp on it. Like it's a used stamp from back then with Hitler's face on it. I've stuck it on my shelf because I was like, is it a bad omen keeping this in my house? Here we go with the ink pad again. This is when you'll see how juicy this is. And I don't think this is normal juiciness because look how wet that is. I don't even re-stamp it. And look, I get a perfect second image. Then I take a bit of scrap paper too, because I was like, this is very wet. And look, I managed to get a third image. And then a very faint fourth. I have never been able to stamp more than one image anytime I dip. And look, it is so wet, I actually have to take a piece of paper. I was looking for an absorbent paper so it wouldn't smear. And take some of that ink off. And look at that. Look at that. Please tell me yours is not like this because I swear that is abnormal. So I'm going to glue on my little flower in front of all of that now that I've got another layer of stamping. I just like to layer things. Layering things is, to me, how things end up looking really cool. So I'm adding my flower on top of that stamping. So it will be my focal point for sure with nothing on top of it. Then when I trim off this little extra bit of the flower there, I am not going to throw that away. I'm going to use the offcut and cover up that little hole from my notepaper on the back. It was all glued and everything. And then that little scrap of paper that I have to the side, I'm going to use that to cover up that other little hole down the bottom. I'm taking my ink dauber pad from my vintage photo. I was literally too lazy to switch it back. And I'm going to glue that little bit onto the corner. And there we go. And then I'm going to trim that little bit. Now, I really like my note cards to have stitching detail on them. If you don't have a sewing machine, you could stop after this if you don't like stitching. But I'm going to show you why I love stitching so much. It just gives it a more finished look. This is a postcard that I made from an old book page. I mean, just look at that, how pretty. It just looks so more polished. So I'm going to go and sew this and show you how it looks when I come back. Let's get my rubbish out the way. There we go. And I'm back with the power of camera work. I'm just going to trim off those little threads. And I think it's fair to say that this card is done. Now this could go and slide into a journal as a little journaling card, or I could still trade this as an artist trading card. I would just put my details on the back, the artist, the date it was made, right there, and then you would trade that with somebody who collects cards. Or, you know, you could slide it inside something, maybe something bigger than this, and make it as like a little pull out. So there we go, that is our little card. Now I want to add in here before I leave, if you like watching vlog channels, me and Lou from the Lean and Loo brand actually have a vlog channel. I'm showing you there, you could put it inside one of the little books we made. We have a vlog channel where we show behind the scenes everyday life stuff, cooking, painting, gardening stuff about us, you'll get to meet Lou a little bit more, who is actually my partner in crime. Yeah, this ink dye, if you have it, tell me is yours as juicy as mine. And that is my April challenge card. You can make it the size, any size. This is a tarot card. You could have used them as a base or a plain card. But yeah, that is my offering. Let me see your offerings. Check the blog post below that will tell you how to enter the craft challenge. And if you're interested in our vlogs, then I will also have a link below showing us at home. And yeah, catch you in the next one.